Hello, today I'm joined by my guest David Brew from eConveyancer. How you doing, David?
You everyone yourself?
Yeah, really well, thank you. I'm very excited to chat to you today because conveyancing is sort of one of my specialist mastermind topics. And something that has very much dominated my career as an agent. And I love talking about sort of innovations that are going to perhaps make that process easier or speed things up. And I'm cheating a little bit because we had a chat the other
We
day,
did.
which got me very, very exciting. But we'll come to that a little bit soon. Um, in your opinion, what is the most important aspect when it comes to conveyancing?
I'd probably say at the moment, speaking to agents and just getting a bit of feedback from, solicitors, conveyancers, and everybody in the industry, I think it comes down to speed, transparency, communication. They tend to be the three key pillars when you look at it. I think if you miss one of those, you're going to build frustration in others. But if you can hit all three, you've hit the jackpot.
I think you are bang on right there. And in terms of the challenges that then we face as agents, but also you guys on the conveyancing side of things that we face, there are certain obstacles that get thrown in our way. So we're talking just after the crazy stamp duty rush of 2025. We lived through it. We survived
Yeah.
another one. But the volume of transactions that were all kind of being forced through with that March deadline was huge. You can only imagine the pressure that that put on conveyancers. Those are some of the challenges that life throws our way, but there are day-to-day challenges as well, aren't there?
Yeah, I think if it kind of cover both. I suppose the stamp duty was great in a transactional process. There's a huge flurry of numbers that went through. But I think the problem you had there is there's only so much of a capacity one law firm can take. So when you kind of divvy that up across, as we do, we've got a platform of, 70 odd conveyancers on there. And because we work so closely with them, you try and eliminate some of the challenges. I think it's inevitable that those challenges will knock on the door, whether you are a 10 out of 10 or a 5 out of 10 or a 1 out of 10. But I think when you look at it, I think some of the biggest challenges that we found and like looking at that, where it came from, when you have stamp duty, you've got a lot of people chasing. So you and I had this chat the other day where as a solicitor, you're trying to get the work done, but you've got an estate agent chasing you because they need to give an answer to their
Yeah.
vendor or their buyer. But it's the chain that's chasing each other. So I think that was one of the biggest feedbacks from because we own a law firm. That was one of the biggest feedbacks is that it was the constant chasing. You could never really focus your time onto something. And then I suppose the inconsistency of like how the solicitor firms are working. Some working at a higher pace, some had a smaller team working on a higher workload. But the best feedback we got was from our own solicitor saying it was mayhem, is how she put it in the nicest way. She's like, it was mayhem, and I think on the 2nd of April they were like, we're all going on holiday from.
I don't blame them at all. And it can, I mean, we use the word chasing there, and we talk, if we want to be sophisticated as agents, we'll talk about sales progression. So
Absolutely.
we won't call ourselves chasers, but when we let that guard slip, that professional guard slip in the office, we very often call, chase this, chase that, and we end up referring to ourselves as sales chasers because that's really what we're doing.
Yeah.
We're putting you feel a little bit, I suppose, as an agent sometimes, a little bit powerless or without control because you're in the middle of this transaction. You are that kind of that glue that stitches the communication together between clients and solicitors and mortgage brokers and surveyors and all the other hurdles that we've got to get through just to get to exchange of
Yep.
contracts. And chains make that more elaborate as well. But all we can do sometimes is to chase, is to put pressure on a conveyancer. And it's one of the first jobs that you get as a junior kind of negotiator. You get a
Yep.
stack of files and they go, right, you call that guy there. And
Leave no stone unturned.
And I think you develop that kind of thick skin, don't you, where you have to
Yeah.
sort of you have to call solicitors and you have to be prepared for them to not want to
Yeah.
necessarily engage in mega conversation with you. So communication has always been that kind of underlying bedrock to the relationship between both agent and solicitor.
Yeah, I'd agree with you there. I think without communication, I use the term quiet time is dangerous time in a property transaction. If I got time to kick my feet and sit there going, what if, what could be, what should be, you're guaranteed as a homeowner, I'm getting on the phone to go, what's happening? I've got give me a date. Is it achievable? Are we going to do it? The problem there is that if that communication line is broken down, you just have a lot of people going, "What if?" What if is a very dangerous mindset to have when you've got a transactional process and you've got a house that needs to go through.
So I'm really pleased to say that after discussing this with you the other day, so I had a line in my diary. It said eConveyancer, and I jump on this call to find out. We call them discovery calls, so we jump on just to see it firsthand before we have these kind of conversations. And you could forgive me for thinking unkindly that, Hank, it's just going to be another conveyancing platform. And I'm happy to tell all the viewers it absolutely isn't. And it trumped my expectations. I know that's a sore word to use today, but it really did. In as much as you asked me a question, I think about what I value most in
Yeah,
terms of who I would recommend as a solicitor or a conveyancer. And I've said that over almost like 30 years of a career, when I'm recommending solicitors, I do it on the basis of who communicates best. And so the people that I recommend to my sellers and buyers are the people that I think are going to make their life easier
yeah,
and add more value to their sale, but also going to make my life easier as an estate agent. And what I'm ultra pleased to say about eConveyancer is, and I just think it's the most wonderful feature, and it's so simple, but it's based on feedback. You have a communication score
yeah,
for the solicitors on your platform. So at a glance, I can see what their feedback is and what their rating is. That's great. But I can also see what they're likely to be like if I'm communicating with
yeah.
them. This is a superb innovation. I'm very excited about it.
To be fair, you're not the only. We've when we kind of brought it out. So the idea behind the communication score is I use it all the time. I move countries. So I moved from South Africa over to UK. Buying a house here was more stressful than moving a country, which is sad because it should be the most exciting transaction you make. I'm buying a new house. I'm moving into my dream home. But what you find is that as you get that like stack of, as I did, I learned very quickly. I got this stack of paper, and I was like, I have no idea what to do with this. Then when you try and call a solicitor or law firm or the estate agent, they're busy doing their own thing. So you don't want to feel like, the guilt part of going, oh, do I have to phone you now or do I wait? So we put in place to go, look, forefront communication is king. If you communicate correctly, everybody's on the right page and you know what you're going to get and you know what to expect. So we set it up in a way where it gives you, as the estate agent, the ability to see who's on your platform and how good they are communicating, but as well from a vendor or a buyer's side, it gives them the ability to go, you know what, I've got a trusted conveyancer who knows what they're doing. They communicate. And I can also rate them. So it's very much the three pillars of what we've done. So it's pretty much a proactiveness. So it's like a meaningful update to make sure that they've got you something that's actually meaningful, which puts you at ease. And the responses. So I call it almost like a mini WhatsApp inside of eConveyancer, where you can all talk to each other within the platform. You don't have to drop an email or get on the phone. You can just send an instant message and you get prompt responses. We've kind of set it one working day. A lot of the time it's a lot quicker, but the one working day makes sense. I mean, so when you look at my old, I used to work at Rightmove, and they were talking about you need to get hold of a lead within 45 minutes. I think from a legal side, a one working day response is relatively fine. And then the other thing is milestones. You mentioned chasing or progressing.
Yeah.
The milestones make a huge difference because they're updated and they're updated promptly. So when something gets updated, you as the estate agent gets told this has been completed. your vendor or your buyer gets in here and will say this has been completed. So everybody's going, you know what? I know where I am in this transactional process. I don't have to sit there going, I'll pick up the phone, drop an
Yeah.
email. And I think that's the key because those communication points allows for everybody to go, you know what? I'm in a really good place. You know, my conveyancer knows what they're doing. They're in a good place using a platform that works. My estate agent knows. So if you pick up the phone at any given time, I'm able to pick up at the same point as everybody else. Not pick up and go, oh my days, what's he phoning me for? Let me go and open the file. Let's just open up eConveyancer. That tells you exactly what's going on. It's I say it's made the biggest difference with all the agents we got on there because it's been the first thing they all came back saying this is amazing, absolutely amazing.
It is it was like I say, it's simple, but it kind of summarized everything about the advice that I would give to a
Yeah,
would-be buyer or seller in terms of how important communication is and how important, from an estate agent's point of view, my ability to do my job really well is based on the partners that I work with
yeah,
within the chain. So if I have a weak agent down the line who's not doing the same job as me, that chain becomes harder to manage. If I've got a solicitor that's not communicating with me, then it's very frustrating to say the least. So this was music to my ears. But luckily you're not just a one-trick pony. You have more than one USP, which I'm really pleased to say. So, I mean, that communication score is absolutely perfect. But also what piqued my interest was the sort of element of de-risking property transactions from a cost point of view as well.
yeah.
You've taken a rather unique stance on that. Just talk us through that.
So in terms of it, when you think about transactional process, there's a lot of aspects that can cause a transaction to fall through. You know, you've got all the parts of life moving things like that. But I suppose one of the biggest factors is that when we speak to estate agents, they all go, you know, we can't control that aspect. I can't force a buyer to go through a transaction. I can't marry up a buyer and a seller to get them to work perfectly. Something might come about. But once you've allocated your legals to a solicitor, your traditional solicitor, and again, take it across the board, they'll charge you a fee for any transactional work that's done and whatever legal work they do. So from our side, we go appreciate that, but at the same point, we go, if there's no completion, there's no legal fee, which means that yes, you'll pay for your disbursements, your AMLs and things like that. But if the transaction does not go through, we don't charge a legal fee, which then as well puts a bit of emphasis on the solicitor to go, well, I can't get paid unless I do the job properly, which means that my client gets paid. And I suppose the nice thing, it just puts that ownership on the solicitor firms, the legal firms to go, we need to get the work done to get paid. We'll get paid at the end of the day, but it's about doing it properly and doing it correctly. So when you take away the legal fee, that if it doesn't complete, you've got a solicitor going, hold on, I have to put everything in here to get this to work. And
Yeah.
you got on the other end, you've got an estate agent going, hold on, so my clients don't get paid if this falls through? Absolutely.
It sort of, for the first time ever, puts the estate agent and the solicitor on the same level because
Yep.
we've been working for years at risk. If we don't put in the effort and the sale doesn't
Yeah.
go through, inevitably we don't get paid. So that this is there is parity, which I think means that we're all on the same side and we're all sort of
Yeah.
pulling in the same direction. And it's going to
There's
hurt us.
probably a little add on to that as well.
Yeah.
We've got our own searches platform. So if a transaction doesn't go through, we will guarantee searches for the next purchase if the buyer comes through. But it's got a bit of criteria behind it. But again, because it's not always at fault of anybody to go, fell through. So we do give a criteria of going, we won't charge you for the searches if you come back again a second time and use the same estate agent or you use a different solicitor.
Um, Great, a great way of looking at things. In terms of, I suppose your third USP is the fact that it's not a one size fits all scenario because the way that we do business as estate agents, it differs. There are nuances, believe it or not,
Yeah.
between different agencies, perhaps how we incentivize our staff, how we treat our staff, how we deal with commissions, how we deal with referral fees. It's all slightly different. You guys have left it down to the estate agent to sort of say to you what works effectively and to build, also a commission structure in there that feels fair. But the agent has a bit of play on. They have a bit of autonomy in there.
Quite a bit, to be fair. And it's a very hot topic, that part there, because I find that when I speak to agents that have come over to us, as you do, and as you know, we did the other day, we did a bit of a fact find. You tell me a bit about how things are working. It's exactly that there's such a difference between how agents work in, and with conveyancing, and how they regard that return of income. So when we look at it from that angle, you go, the platform offers, we've got 70 plus solicitors on the platform. We had a great conversation with them, and we've got a state agency field, but we don't want to overcomplicate things, because I think too much choice is a dangerous thing. I use the word dangerous, not dangerous, more of it's a tricky part, because if you've got too much choice, you go, hold on, I don't know which one to do. So we had 10 solicitors come back to little firms, come back to us and go, we'll take you on, and we'll give you the capacity on the estate agency side. So it allows for our estate agents when they join to go, I don't like 10, I only want 3. I work very well with these 3, I only work with that one. So we can build a tailored, how I'd say, a tailored panel. I don't like the word panel, but I'm going to use it there, because you can build a tailored one for that estate agent, which then gives them the ability that after working with it for some time, we also do an introductory with the estate and solicitor. So I always think a face and a name is always good. I want to know who I'm working with, and you set up those relationships. But then, as you say, when it comes to referral fee, it varies. We've got some agents out in London, you've got some out in Scotland, you've got some all the way down, in Bournemouth. We've got a couple everywhere, and they all have different ways of looking at it. But we set a default as initial call. But you can always go in as your estate agent and go, this is a client that I know, is quite price sensitive. I'm going to drop my referral fee a bit. Or it's a client that that default is set. So it's flexible to match what an estate agent's day to day and how you like to run the business.
It's a superb concept, and you showed me the platform the other day. The UX is very easy to use. It's very intuitive, I think was the word that
Yeah.
I kept using. Perhaps I overused it, but it's easy to use because it sort of takes you through on a step-by-step basis. And I think, flat out, I think it's about 21 minutes to
Yeah, that was our
complete.
record. 21
Yeah.
minutes to complete your seller's pack.
Which is amazing, because the bit that people always sort of say, "Oh, it took me ages to fill," is always the seller's pack that they sort of stumble with. And this is also, it's tried and tested, so this isn't something that's just been invented today. You've already done over 120,000 digital moves so
Yeah.
far, and you handled in excess of 1 million transactions altogether. So people can rely on this with confidence, can't they?
No, absolutely. So, I mean, before we brought the estate agency world, we've been doing this with brokers for over 20 years. So, trial and tested would be the very first paper putting. There's been a lot of pain points over the 20 years that we've had to fix. So, we took a working model and just put it together for estate agents to go, how do we simplify the process for estate agents? But in the same format, we got a lot of feedback from agents to go, what works, what doesn't work, what do you want to see, what don't you want to see, what would you like your clients to see? And I think, as you touched on, it's a full digital platform. So from the minute an estate agent quotes to the minute the vendor or the buyer gets their pack, it's full digital. Coming down to that, we're saving roughly 2 weeks on the initial, just by getting out a digital pack, because you don't have to wait for it to go to the solicitor, get that, and then post it out. It's instant. You can start filling that out. Solicitor comes in and start taking track. But I think, as you mentioned there, it makes a big difference when everything is digital and it's an easier system. I mean, I did as you do when I joined Smooth, and they gave me eConveyancer, 3 years ago. I said, give it a go. And for someone who's never done it before and had no idea, I'd hit the question mark, go, what does that mean? What does that mean? And literally it took me, I think it was 38 minutes. So not far off, thinking that I'd never done it before. And two different countries, South Africa is very different to how they do it. Yeah, but it was, it made my life easier. And from the feedback from agents, it makes their lives easier.
Yeah, no, yeah, and I think anything that's easy for the client, the end user, because people assume that, well, we handle these things every day, so we know what we're doing. Sometimes that might not be the case, but
Yeah.
on the whole, for the actual homeowner to fill in these things, they're coming to it. Some of them move on average once every 27 years or something like that.
Yeah.
That's the statistic there. So unless you filled in these forms recently, you wouldn't necessarily be familiar with them. So it's great to hear that they're easy to use. So in terms of who this platform is for, what type of agent would be using it, I understand from small to large, this can work.
All agents, any agent that uses conveyancing, which would be all, because as we know, you need legal to get a transaction over the line. We don't have anybody that would ever say no to. We're open to conversation. And as you say, or corporate agent might work different to independent. They've all got their own ways. But as I say, when I say we tailor it, it's tailored accordingly. So if it works for you, it works for the next. So we will never turn away an agent. We are open to all agents.
Love all, serve all. So in terms of the cost of this, what does that look like for an agent?
I'm going to use the term. Normally, when you say something's free, everybody goes, "Why? What's the catch?" But it is free. When you look at it from the platform side, the platform is free to use for all estate agents. There is a platform fee that gets incorporated into the legal fee. And that doesn't come from, nobody pays us that just comes out of legal fee at the end of it. But yeah, it's a free platform to use. We don't charge for the platform. The communication, everything we've just gone through now, it all comes as part of the package. There's no, you get a platinum, silver, gold. It's all platinum. Everybody gets the same service. It's all there, and it's free.
And if anything, rather than just be free, it adds to your bottom line as well.
Yes, you can actually earn from it. We give money away. So you use our platform, and we. But again, that all comes down to all the law firms that are with the panel. As you do, they'll have a fee to use a panel and to use a platform. We take a platform fee. So it's all relative, but it's all in the legal fee. So it's not like we're going, here's additional hidden costs. We're going to charge you. We're going to charge subscription. So free, and you earn a referral from it.
And what's feedback been like from agents that have been using the platform so far?
There's enough to go down at the moment because we've just gone out and done a survey with our agents, as you do. You do it once every year. We left it for 2 and then went and did a survey. I'd say that the bigger things is in terms of completion rates, it's sped up the process. So some agents are looking at the overall numbers, anything between 3 weeks. Some have actually, and our user, we've got a freehold specialist, a law firm on the panel. They completed on a couple of properties last year within a month on the freeholds. So, that nice, as a lot of people like to use the vanilla property, the nice,
Yeah.
it's nice and easy to get done. But I'd say on average, we're saving anything between 3 and 4 weeks on a transaction. So it's getting that. It's the journey that has been some of the feedback. The fact that from start to end for their buyers and sellers, the journey has been made stress-free. That even if they hit a bad bump or something, sparks up, everybody in there is able to pick up the phone, speak to someone, communicate. And as you said about that communication, that's eased the process. I'd say it's improved the client satisfaction. So from a vendor and a buyer's side, that's been our biggest feature, is that you've got a happy client at the end of the day. Even
Yeah.
if, and I use an example recently, we had a transaction went through and there was a lot of fireworks, as you put out there, but all of those got put out and got, put to rest. And everybody at the end of the day was happy because it wasn't like we waited 3 months to get something done. It was quick, talk about a week to get a slightly tricky issue resolved. And then the biggest thing is everybody's earning a bit of extra income in a tough time. Let's be honest, the market
Yeah.
isn't at its all-time best. It's been a tricky market for the last 3 years, but they're earning an income on the side. And as well, they're delivering a great service and a good quality conveyancer on the end as well.
No, it's superb. There's some superb innovation there. Great feedback that you're getting. So a firm and very warm welcome to Kerfuffle, to eConveyancer. Look forward to hearing lots of great feedback in the future. David, thank you very much for joining me today.
Yeah, look, thank you very much for the time.
My pleasure.